Hello, dear listener. Before the story begins, take a deep breath. Let the day slowly drift away. If you have a warm drink beside you, perhaps a cup of tea or hot cocoa, take a sip now. If you have a blanket, pull it closer around your shoulders. Tonight, the world outside can wait. Tonight, this story will carry you gently into dreams. Far beyond the noisy towns and busy roads, there lies a hidden path. Few people know about it, for the path reveals itself only to those who walk slowly, without hurry, and with hearts open to wonder. On this path walked a traveler. They had no heavy bags, only a small lantern that glowed with a soft golden light. The air was cool, carrying the quiet perfume of pine trees and the distant hum of crickets. The sky above was painted in deep velvet, with the first stars waking from their slumber. The traveler had come a long way, through meadows and hills, through villages and fields. Yet tonight felt different. The road seemed softer, the wind more patient, and the earth beneath their feet hummed with a hidden song. As the traveler walked, the path curved gently downward, leading to a valley covered in silver mist. The lantern light flickered, but the mist glowed faintly on its own, as though touched by moonlight. At the valley's edge, an old wooden sign leaned quietly under a willow tree. Its letters were faded, yet still readable. The Moonlit Valley, where the night sings and the heart rests. The traveler smiled. Something about the words felt welcoming, as if the valley itself had been waiting. They stepped forward. The mist parted like a curtain, revealing fields of tall grass that swayed as though breathing. Fireflies rose gently, glowing like tiny floating lanterns. The sound of a soft river whispered in the distance, steady and calm, like a lullaby woven into the earth. The traveler followed the sound until they reached a bridge of pale stone. Beneath it, the river glowed faintly, not with sunlight but with a silver shimmer, as if the moon had poured its reflection into the water and never taken it back. On the bridge sat an owl, large, with feathers like snow dusted in gray. Its eyes were round and golden, filled with both wisdom and kindness. "Good evening, traveler," the owl said in a soft, slow voice, as though it had spoken many times before but never in a hurry. "You have found the Moonlit Valley." The traveler bowed politely. "I did not know I was searching, but now that I'm here, I feel as though I was meant to arrive." The owl tilted its head, the lantern light gleaming across its feathers. "This is a place for rest. For letting go. Many wander, but only a few listen closely enough to hear the valley's whisper. Tonight, you are one of them." The traveler leaned on the stone bridge, listening to the river's soft glow. The sound was not only water, it was a melody, slow and endless, as though the valley itself was singing a lullaby. "Follow the river," said the owl. "It will lead you to what your heart seeks. Not riches, not answers, but the simple gift of peace." And so the traveler continued, deeper into the moonlit valley, lanterns swaying with each step, the night wrapping them in velvet calm. Ahead, the path grew softer, and the world quieter still. The traveler followed the riverbank, where soft reeds whispered in the wind. The water shone with a silver glow, as if the moon had melted into the stream. Each ripple carried a gentle rhythm, a pulse that matched the steady beat of a heart at rest. The night was silent, yet not empty. Crickets sang, and distant owls called across the valley. The river itself seemed alive, humming a melody older than time. The traveler walked slowly, careful not to disturb the harmony. The lantern in their hand was no longer needed. The glow of the river lit the way. Still, they carried it, for its warmth reminded them of home. Soon, the path widened into a meadow. Tall grass swayed like waves, bending under the weight of dew that shimmered in the starlight. Fireflies drifted in clouds, rising and falling as if they breathed with the earth itself. The traveler stopped, resting for a moment, listening to the quiet symphony. In the center of the meadow stood a willow tree, its branches long and silver, as if the moonlight had soaked into its bark. The air beneath the willow was cooler, softer, filled with the perfume of night-blooming flowers. As the traveler stepped closer, they saw shapes moving in the grass, not threatening but curious. Out from the meadow hopped small rabbits, their fur glowing faintly blue, as though they had been painted by the sky. They sniffed the air, unafraid, and circled the traveler before hopping back into the shadows. The traveler smiled. "Even the smallest creatures here carry the light of the night," they whispered. Then, from the willow tree, a new voice spoke. It was deep and slow, with the tone of someone who had waited many centuries. "You walk gently," the voice said. The traveler looked up. The willow's trunk shifted, and within its bark opened two glowing eyes, soft and wise. The tree itself was alive. "Who are you?" the traveler asked softly. "I am the watcher of the meadow," said the willow. "I keep the balance of the Moonlit Valley. The creatures rest in my shade, and the river sings by my roots. You are welcome here, for you carry no shadow of haste." The traveler bowed slightly. "Your valley feels like a dream. I do not know how I found it, but already I wish never to leave." The willow's branches swayed, though there was no wind. "Dreams are but doors," it murmured. "Some who enter forget, some who remember cannot return. You will know in time what the valley has to show you. For now, walk with the river, and let it guide you deeper." The traveler rested a while beneath the willow. The branches formed a canopy, wrapping them in silence and shade. The ground was soft, and for a moment they closed their eyes. The sounds of the valley, the flowing river, the insects' gentle hum, the whisper of leaves, lulled them into a half-dream. In this dream, stars drifted down from the sky, landing like glowing feathers around the meadow. Each star carried a faint voice, singing softly. The traveler reached out, and one star rested upon their palm. It was warm, like a memory of summer evenings, and it filled the traveler with calm. When they opened their eyes again, the star was gone, but the warmth remained in their chest. The willow still stood watchful, branches swaying in silence. The traveler rose and continued along the river. The deeper they walked, the narrower the path became, until it led through a forest. The trees here were tall and silver, their bark pale as bone. Between them, the river wound like a glowing thread, always whispering, always guiding. In the forest, night creatures stirred. A fox with fur like black velvet trotted across the path, pausing only to glance at the traveler with eyes of amber fire. It did not flee but vanished into the shadows, silent as smoke. Owls hooted, their calls overlapping in a slow, steady rhythm, like bells tolling in the distance. Moths with wings like stained glass fluttered through the air, their colors glowing faintly in the darkness. The traveler walked on, and the forest grew denser, the air thicker with mystery. The river's glow was the only steady light, shimmering over roots and stones. At last, the traveler reached a clearing. Here, the river spread into a pool, wide and round, its surface as smooth as glass. Above it, the stars were reflected so clearly that the sky and water seemed to touch, as though the pool was a doorway to the heavens. In the middle of the pool stood a rock, and upon the rock, a figure. It was a woman, tall and graceful, her dress woven from moonlight itself. Her hair flowed like water, long and silver, and her eyes shone like stars reflected in deep water. She hummed a song, soft and low, a melody that echoed across the clearing. The travelers stopped, breath caught in their throat. The woman looked up, her gaze meeting theirs. For a long moment, the world seemed to pause. Then she spoke, her voice like ripples across still water. "You have come far, traveler," she said. "The valley does not reveal itself without reason. What is it you seek?" The traveler thought. They had walked many roads, crossed many fields, and though they had never spoken it aloud, what they sought was not treasure nor knowledge, but rest. A place where the weight of time lifted, where the heart could breathe again. "I seek peace," they whispered. The woman smiled, and the pool shimmered. "Then the valley will guide you to it. Walk deeper, and you will find the chamber of dreams. There, the night itself will cradle you." Her song grew softer, and with it, the traveler felt their eyelids heavy once more. They lingered by the glowing pool, watching stars ripple across the water. And as they sat, they realized, the valley was not only a place to be seen. It was a place to be felt, to be breathed, to be carried within. The night grew quieter still, the river humming its endless lullaby, carrying the traveler onward toward the heart of dreams. The night deepened as the traveler left the pool of stars behind. The woman of moonlight's song lingered in the air, fading with every step yet never vanishing entirely. It was as though her voice had woven itself into the fabric of the valley, carried gently in the glow of the river. The traveler walked on. The forest grew quieter here, as though every creature had paused to listen. The trees rose higher, their trunks pale and shimmering, and the canopy overhead opened wide, letting the starlight pour down like a waterfall of silver. The river wound softly beside them, its song now slower, steadier, like the heartbeat of the night itself. The path narrowed until it became only soft earth beneath their feet, the grass cool and wet with dew. The traveler's lantern flickered, though they hardly needed it now, for the valley glowed faintly on its own. Each leaf, each stone, each ripple of water carried a trace of light, enough to guide every step. Soon, the traveler reached a wide hollow. Here, the river bent in a great curve, forming a crescent of silver water that embraced a hill. At the center of the hill was an archway, not built of stone, but of woven roots, branches, and vines, bound together by time. Soft moss clung to its curves, and flowers bloomed in shades of blue that only exist in dreams. The traveler paused. The air here felt different, deeper, thicker, as though filled with quiet magic. A voice rose again, though this time it was not an owl, nor a tree, nor the woman of the pool. It was the valley itself. A whisper without words, a breath that spoke directly to the heart. Here you will find what you seek. Here you will rest. The traveler stepped through the arch. Inside, the world changed. The air grew warmer, wrapped in the scent of lavender and honey. The glow of the river deepened to gold, as though carrying starlight that had ripened with age. The ground softened beneath the traveler's feet, covered in moss thick as velvet. The chamber of dreams revealed itself slowly, as though it wanted the traveler to notice every detail, to linger with each breath. It was not a single chamber, but a great cavern woven by nature itself. Roots curled from the ceiling like chandeliers, tipped with crystals that glowed faintly. Water dripped from stone into clear pools, each droplet singing as it fell. Fireflies drifted lazily through the air, their lights blinking like sleepy eyes. In the very center of the chamber was a bed of stone, but not hard nor cold. It was covered with layers of moss, flowers, and silken threads spun by unseen hands. It looked as though the valley had shaped it not for sleep, but for dreaming. The traveler approached slowly. Each step felt heavier, as though their body was finally surrendering to rest. Beside the bed stood a figure, tall, cloaked in midnight blue. Their face was hidden, but their presence was gentle, carrying neither fear nor weight, only calm. "Welcome," the figure said. Their voice was neither male nor female, neither old nor young. It was the voice of night itself, soft, endless, eternal. The traveler bowed their head. "Is this the chamber of dreams?" "It is," the figure replied. "Here, the burdens you have carried will melt away. Here, the hours will stretch like rivers, and the night will cradle you until morning finds its way again." The traveler hesitated. "And if I sleep here, will I wake?" The figure tilted their head, as though smiling beneath the cloak. "Dreams are doors. Some open back into the world you know. Others, into the worlds you have forgotten. The valley offers rest, but it does not decide where you will wake. Only your heart can do that." The traveler touched the soft bed, moss cool against their fingertips. The weight of many days, many journeys, pressed against their shoulders. And yet, here, in the chamber, that weight began to lift, as though unseen hands were loosening every knot of weariness. The figure in midnight raised one hand and gestured to the bed. "Lie down, traveler. The night is long, and the valley holds you safe." The traveler obeyed. They set the lantern beside them and lowered themselves onto the bed. The moss embraced them, soft as clouds, and the glow of fireflies hovered above like drifting stars. As they closed their eyes, the sound of the glowing river filled the chamber, slow, endless, like a lullaby without words. And then the dreams began. At first, the traveler dreamed of their own footsteps, walking through fields of grass that stretched forever. Each blade shimmered silver, bending beneath invisible winds. Ahead, the moon hung low, so close they could almost touch it. Then the dream shifted. They stood in a village, not one they had ever known, yet familiar all the same. The houses glowed with candlelight, and people moved slowly, smiling, unhurried. Children chased fireflies, elders told stories beside wooden doors, and laughter drifted like music through the air. The traveler felt no need to speak. The village spoke directly to their heart, reminding them of belonging, of home. The dream shifted again. Now they floated on a boat made of glass, drifting down the glowing river. Stars rained softly into the water, dissolving like sugar into tea. The sky turned into a canvas of violet and gold, and from its edges came birds with wings like tapestries, each feather painted with memories. The birds circled the traveler, whispering fragments of forgotten songs. Again, the dream shifted. The traveler lay in a meadow of endless flowers. Each flower hummed a note, and together they sang a chorus that filled the sky. The notes wove themselves into the air, forming shapes of clouds, shapes of mountains, shapes of paths yet to be walked. Each dream flowed into the next, seamless, gentle, like turning pages of a book already known but long unread. And through it all, the figure in midnight stood watch. Silent, patient, keeping the chamber safe. Hours passed, or perhaps moments. Time in the chamber of dreams did not move as it did beyond the valley. Here, time was only the rise and fall of breath, the drift between dream and rest. When the travelers stirred, opening their eyes, the chamber glowed the same as before. The fireflies hovered, the river whispered, the figure remained still. "You have rested," they said softly. The traveler sat up slowly. Their body felt lighter, as though every weight had melted away. Their heart was calm, steady, and filled with a quiet strength. "What lies beyond?" the traveler asked. The figure pointed deeper into the chamber, where another arch of roots and vines waited, faintly glowing. Beyond lies the final part of your journey. There you will learn why the valley called you, and where your path will lead when the dream ends. The travelers stood, their lantern glowing once more, though now it shone brighter than before, as though fueled by the dreams themselves. With steady steps, they moved toward the arch, and as they passed beneath it, the chamber of dreams faded behind them, carrying with it the last echoes of lullabies, the last whispers of endless sleep. The path to the heart of the valley awaited. The travelers stepped through the arch, leaving the chamber of dreams behind. The air beyond was stiller, quieter than any place they had ever known. Even the glowing river hushed to a slow murmur, as though it too waited in reverence. The path stretched ahead, lined with stones smooth as water, each one glowing faintly underfoot. The traveler walked slowly, their lantern in hand, though it was no longer needed. The lantern now glowed brighter than ever before, not with the flame of oil, but with the soft light of the dreams they had gathered. Above, the stars shifted. They were not scattered at random, as they often seemed in the world beyond, but arranged in patterns. Constellations unfolded like open books, telling stories of forgotten travelers, of valleys that had existed long before, of nights that stretched into eternity. The traveler felt small beneath them, yet not alone. At last, the path ended in a great circle of stone. In its center rose a pool, not wide like the starry water they had seen before, but deep. Its surface shimmered with every color of the sky, silver, violet, blue, and gold. Looking into it was like gazing into the soul of night itself. Around the pool stood figures. They were neither entirely human nor entirely spirit, tall, robed in threads of starlight, their faces hidden but their presence gentle, endless, familiar. They were the keepers of the valley. The traveler bowed, though no words were spoken. One of the keepers stepped forward, their robes shifting like clouds across the moon. When they spoke, their voice was both near and distant, as though it traveled through centuries. "You have come to the heart of the Moonlit Valley." The traveler's voice was quiet. "Why was I called here?" The keeper raised a hand, and the pool rippled, showing images within its waters. The traveler saw themselves, walking many roads, carrying unseen weight. They saw nights of wandering without rest, mornings of departure without peace. They saw a heart that longed not for riches, not for answers, but for stillness. "The valley calls only those who listen," said the keeper. "It does not seek the loud, nor the hurried, nor those who chase with restless hunger. It seeks those who need its song. Tonight, it sought you." The traveler looked again into the pool. This time, the water showed them resting beneath the willow, speaking with the owl, dreaming in the chamber. Each moment glowed as though eternal, stitched together by the valley's quiet hand. "And now?" the traveler whispered. The keeper gestured to the pool. "Now you choose. The valley does not bind. It offers." The traveler's heart tightened. "Choose between what?" "Between the waking world," said the keeper, "and the dream." Silence fell. The traveler understood. If they stepped away, they would wake again in the world beyond the valley, in fields, villages, and roads that stretched far into morning. Life would continue, with its burdens, its trials, its fleeting joys. Yet the memory of the valley would remain, a secret tucked into the folds of their heart. But if they stepped into the pool, they would remain. The valley would cradle them forever. They would walk its glowing fields without end, resting in its dreams until time itself dissolved. The choice was not heavy, yet it was vast. The traveler stood at the edge of the pool, watching colors shimmer like sleeping skies. They thought of the roads they had walked. They thought of the willow tree's wisdom, the owl's kind words, the woman's song, the figure of midnight keeping watch. They thought of the dreams that had melted their burdens, the fireflies that had hovered like stars. The traveler closed their eyes. For a moment, there was only stillness, the heartbeat of the valley, the breath of the night. Then they whispered, "I choose peace." And they stepped forward. The water embraced them like silk. It was neither cold nor warm, but endless. They sank without fear, without weight, as though the valley itself had opened its arms. The lantern they carried dissolved into light, scattering into 1,000 sparks that drifted upward like stars returning to the sky. The keepers lowered their heads in silence. The pool stilled, and the traveler was gone. What remained was not absence, but presence. The valley glowed brighter that night. The river sang more sweetly. The owls hooted with gentler voices, and the willow's branches swayed as though in soft applause. Fireflies rose in greater numbers, lighting the meadow like a sky reborn. For the traveler had not disappeared. They had become part of the valley. Their rest was eternal, their dreams endless, their presence woven into every leaf, every ripple, every star above the moonlit valley. When the night deepened to its quietest hour, the valley whispered once more, "Rest, traveler. The journey is over. Dream, and be dreamed." And the valley sang them to sleep. Crescent Moon Epilogue. Sometimes when the world outside grows too heavy, and a wanderer walks without hurry beneath the stars, they may find themselves upon a hidden path. Perhaps they will see the sign leaning beneath the willow. Perhaps they will hear the river's glow or the owl's kind greeting. Perhaps they will follow the path into the mist. And perhaps, if they listen closely enough, they will hear the faintest echo of the valley's lullaby, and in that moment, they too will know they are not alone. For the moonlit valley is eternal. It waits, it whispers, and it dreams. And it always remembers those who choose peace.